else that you have had strong opinions on in the past, which is Bitcoin. Back in October, you were talking about the price bubble collapsing. Looking at the level right now, it's trading around 11,300 today. Have we seen the bottom, or is that collapse still coming? And in fact, if that is what you expect, what do you think will be the trigger?
Oh, I think Bitcoin will be worth a tiny fraction of what it is now if we're headed out 10 years from now. It's basically, if you take away the possibility of money laundering, tax evasion, its actual uses as a transactions vehicle are very small. Some of the Bitcoin advocates say, well, it's beautiful. People will hold it because it's beautiful. I think that's nonsense. So the trigger, of course, is going to be regulation, but it's not going to happen overnight. It really needs to be global regulation. Even if the U.S. cracks down on it and China cracks down, but Japan doesn't, people will be able to still launder money through Japan. But I don't think it's going to go to zero, because I think there'll be rogue nations who feel outside the global financial system, not invested in it, that will still accept it. But I would see $100 as being a lot more likely than 100,000 10 years from now.
That is a Harvard professor. A Harvard professor. Now, one might think, wow, he's got to know a lot. He's a professor at Harvard, for Christ's sake. Always get into these arguments with people about financial advisors and universities, and how it's a strange appeal to authority that people just like, well, he's a professor, he knows what he's talking about. Think about this. This professor told thousands of students how bad Bitcoin was. It's money laundering and tax evasion. It's just one of those good slaves of the tax farm. You know, he's just upholding. He knows that he's part of the tax farm and a slave. He's just kind of on a higher little level. And if there's one thing I've never heard someone say why they bought Bitcoin, it's because it's beautiful. I've never heard that. There's a lot of beauty in its architecture and its potential, but I've never heard someone saying, I just bought it because it's so beautiful. Yet, maybe down the road, we will hear that. Now, you know how I love a good psyop, and I love the actors, and I love the kabuki theater. I love it all. I love the planned opposition. It's never-ending excitement to try to decipher the psyop, right? So when it came to Nick Fuentes, he's such a funny character, because Duke's first jiu-jitsu class, his sensei was a big Nick Fuentes fan, and that was 4 or 5 years ago. So I kind of been watching him from the sidelines, and so to me, if anyone tells me that this guy is censored on everything, I got to go check it out, because usually whatever they don't want you to hear is dripping in some sort of truth that they don't want to let out, whatever it may be. Now, he's a very divisive character. I'm a little weary on how, like, he reminds me of just the heel, if it were, like using a wrestling analogy, the heel of the Esalen Institute intellectia, you know, like the Charlie Kirks, the Candace Owens, the Joe Rogans, the Matt Walshes, all those really great, the Ben Shapiro's, the other guy, Michael Knowles, these really smart intellectias that can like debate any side of any coin and win. I'd argue that Andrew Wilson's better than all of them, but that's because I'm a big Andrew Wilson fan. I always see it in the comment sections. I'm a simple man. I see Andrew Wilson and I click, and that's basically what happens to me too. But with Nick Fuentes, he's just as articulate. He's just as good an orator as all of them. In fact, maybe he's a little better than them. So it's interesting to see how he's rising up. And it may be my algorithm, right? My X algorithm may be just feeding me whatever I want to actually see. But seeing his escalation, it's kind of like the way the heel in world wrestling would come out of nowhere. You know, he's a villain. Don't look, don't listen. Nobody likes him, and then all of a sudden he starts to shake his fist, and then he comes around, and next thing you know, he's like, I remember, like, if Fish, I don't know if Fish is on here, but I DM Fish a month ago. I said, bizarre prediction, but I think Nick Fuentes may be the next president. And the only reason I say that is that there's just so many Gen Z millennial disenfranchised. I don't know if it's millennial, but they have no North Star anymore. So they will probably look at a savior type, a radical savior type, like all civilizations do. They look for someone to save them, right? And I think there was some of the things he says, despite what his take on racial aspects. If you look on a macro level, he's kind of really talking on a macro level. I find it interesting anyway. A lot of people get hung up on the racial rhetoric, I suppose, but and more or less he uses it to prove a point on certain things. What did Wick say? Joe Rogan programming was best when he was a stoner asking physicists and historians to blow his mind. Now, after years of shtick, he wants to have opinions. Well, that's why I think, like, Joe Rogan was an Esalen institution guy, and Jordan Peterson. And so it's like once they get to a level of being able to debate anything, right? It doesn't matter what side it's on. It's just anything. And so he's told, we're going to go down this road. We want you to dispel the moon. We want you to be for the moon landing now. Because so Joe Rogan was against the moon landing. Not really against, just like noticing and asking questions. Like, what the hell? How did wait a second. How did this happen? How did that happen? How did this happen? Right? Just normal questions that I saw this thing about Gen Xers, how we're the last critical thought people. And now the reason why I think that is because as a Gen Xer, no one told us right from wrong when we were little because no one was there, right? We were like feral children just kind of walking through the world. What's happening? How does this work? So we had to figure out everything on our own. And that muscle, that intellectual muscle never left us, right? So we're left here, for better or for worse, questioning absolutely everything. And it's a fun place to be, but I notice like it's very weird because a lot of people don't. I don't know if you run into this, but like I'll have conversations with people, and it's just whatever the weird, bizarre rhetoric that's coming from news sources, CNN. They're just hook, line, and sinker. I had an argument yesterday with it's kind of a normie, but he's just more like a devil's advocate type of person, and he just whatever the narrative says, he believes. Even back like the COVID stuff, it's his. I can see his mind kind of moving towards. It seems fishy now, but it's so hard to let go of that aspect. So yeah, back to Joe Rogan, Wick. Now he's equipped with the ordered debating skills of the Esalen Institute. You go toe to toe with anyone because it's not really about what you know, it's how you can, jujitsu the meaning of something around it. Because usually when you look at any of these arguments that are going on online, any of these debates, there's a lot of poking holes in, here's the paragraph, here's their take, then they just poke holes in the sentences, and then they're fighting over sentences. That's really, it's almost like legalese, right? Everything comes down to dollars or doll hairs. That was the biggest one when I was a kid. Do you want, I'll bet you $10. Did you say dollars or doll hairs? That's $1. Doll hairs? That's essentially what debating is in a nutshell. Trying to break down dollars into doll hairs or doll hairs back into dollars. Now, Did we get a little pump? Yeah, we got a little pump. It was exciting. It was so exciting. I immediately went to bed because I have PTSD, and I'm like, this is gonna dive. This is gonna go up and it's gonna go down. And that's what price does. It goes up and then it comes down and it retraces. But right now we are trying to find support at, is this the 23.6? It's so far back. Yeah, 23.6% fib. Naturally, I would expect actually to come down to the 118.3, which is the 38.6. What am I getting? These 38.2% fibs. And this is also, I've heard 2 CME gaps, right? Oh my God, the dreaded CME gap. I've heard 2. I've heard 18.3, which is the 38.2% fib, which would make sense. So it's, double word score on that bearish target. But also there's one here that I saw this morning, this ad here, Bitcoin price to fill 117K. So there's a couple CME gaps, there's 18.3, right? Scotty Moe, and there's 117. Based on this, Bitcoin is a new dip target as the week begins with Bitcoin price action targeting all-time highs. No, did I just press 2 speed on the on YouTube? Will bulls end up defending 117? God, I hope so. I'd like 117, 118 to be the new floor, for Christ's sake. Bitcoin starts the new week in exciting places. Price action knocks on all-time highs. Bitcoin surges to 122K, the latest sign that price discovery is around the corner. Dip discussions focus on the weekend CME gap, which offered 117 as a retracement target. What about 118.3? How come they're really close? And when you think of the law of large numbers, it's really like neighbors. CPI and PPI, the government's basket of lies, are due this week as markets cement bets that the Federal Reserve will cut interest rates next month, which will probably be baked in. So this is how that'll work in my PTSD mind and heart, is that we will get the baked in price surge up to the meeting. He will cut rates, and then September drop comes in. Right? We're going to go down the WWF Kabuki Theater. It would make sense to have the price rise up to, we'll look at there's a price target on the 4-hour chart that we'll take a look at that. Shane Kelly, we're about 1,000 doll hairs away. Did you say doll hair, Shane? USDT transactions from Will suggest a lack of interest in profit booking. Profit booking. Never heard that thing. Profit booking. USDT transactions from Will suggest a lack of interest in profit booking. I don't know. Have you guys ever heard what profit booking? It's a new one. A red Coinbase premium spells potential problems for Bitcoin during the upcoming U.S. trading sessions. Bitcoin traders assess 122K weekend surge. Bitcoin price action wasted no time boosting the bulls after the weekly close. A swift surge took Bitcoin USD beyond 122. Local highs of 122.3 on Bitstamp came before a retracement began. Yeah, when the market opened and all the paper Bitcoin started flooding it. Get that down, get that down, get that down. Per data from Cointelegraph, Markets Pro, and TradingView. Yeah, I hate TradingView. It's so expensive for what it does. I may not even get it next year. And I've got like the discount, grandfathered in discount, and it's still like, I guess if people trade out of it, it might be worth it. But I'm just like, the reason why I have to get TradingView is that in order to have like the 4-hour chart, the daily chart, the weekly chart, and the monthly chart, I need the pro version of TradingView, or else you only get like two charts on the same thing. So it's a lot of money just to have 4 or endless charts, I guess, right? I don't need endless charts. I really just need, but maybe 4. I wish it was like Adobe Premiere, where they really get you. This is a joke. Adobe Premiere, they know everybody, basically wants Photoshop or Premiere. Now I'm just a mood swing away. If anyone, like, I'd make a lot of the thumbnails now in DaVinci. So DaVinci Resolve, where I edit videos, you can do a lot of photoshopping in there. It has a better, in Photoshop, you can go like a subject, remove background, click, click, click. These are things that came out on apps, right? And then now they're on Premiere, and now they're on DaVinci. But I rarely make thumbnails in Photoshop because I want out of Photoshop, because the reason why I'm still paying the Adobe Vig, which is like $350 a year, something like that. I don't use Premiere anymore, right? But so the difference between getting the full suite and then just getting Photoshop is like $10 a month or something. And it's just so close that you're like, well, I think, yeah, I might as well get all of it, right, for another $10. Wick. I had to look it up. Profit booking, they're talking about more volatility from just people swapping things around in their portfolios rather than camping out on current holdings look like. Profit booking, they're talking about more volatility from just people. I still don't get what that really means. So it's, instead of active traders, profit booking is less active traders. I don't know. Anyway, we'll probably never hear about it again. If there's a happy side. So here's this is what some legacy analysts would call a cup and handle pattern, right? So we did break out of it. We didn't fully lasers. I torrented all that stuff. Yeah. Well, now they lock you out, right? I wish I had an old version of Adobe I could just use. But they get you with the new updates. It's like Premiere does this, right? But if anyone's getting into editing videos, let me tell you one thing. DaVinci Free, the free version of DaVinci, does almost everything you'll ever need as a early editor in DaVinci for free. So paying for Premiere, it'll take you years to fully, appreciate all the upside to Premiere. A lot of things are stupid, right? That you'll never use. Like a good editor is like a good athlete. They're just efficient, right? Like all the bells and whistles, all the transitions and all the fancy stuff. It's really, you use them like, I'll use the same guitar analogy. When you're shitty at guitar, you have a lot of pedals, distortion, delay, chorus, flange to make your shitty playing sound good. So when you're a new editor, you put on, it's sides wipes and circle and whirlpool, all these things that kind of look interesting, but they're stupid. And then as you edit for a long time, you just use nothing. You just clear cut. It's just the scene cuts, no transition. What was I talking about here? Oh yeah. So we didn't really meet the expectation of this cup and handle, because if you take the poll, what am I doing here? Where's the thing here? If you take the poll, you slide it all to the breakout point. Now, here's the thing. This is the actual breakout point of this pattern. So we'll use it. You take the poll, you slide it all to the breakout point, and then we're all at 125K. So that is where we should have played out. Now, we eventually will. But will we head all the way back down to fill these CME gaps at 117, which is, well, look at that. 117 on the 4-hour chart is a 50% fib. So the fibs are lining up. Unfortunately, everything's kind of lining up here for that dip. And what are the odds of these CME gaps, these self-fulfilling financial prophecies? They're like 90%. But there are, exceptions to the rule. But there are a lot of confluence of events happening here with these fibs and these CMEs. So, I mean, the good news is that we would probably get a bounce from it and shoot off, because this is basically the early traders. This is what they live for, because there's such a self-fulfilling prophecy. It's like, oh, yeah, we'll sell it into the CME gap. Yeah, easy trade, right? So they do it. So you just have this self-fulfilling prophecy happening. Over on the ding-dong, you can see we got a hella rejection. And we didn't actually get as high as our all-time high. All-time high, 123.2. Yesterday, we got to 122.3. So let's call it $1,000 off. But we still got a hell wick smackdown. And we're back to where we closed. Like, I would like to maybe close today's candle. Is it so hard to ask? Can we just close the candle above 119.9? You know, that would be officially the highest candle close on the daily in Bitcoin's history. 119.9. Let's call it 120, right? And so from there, we're not too far away. We're $400 or $500. Now maybe the market opens up. What time is it? 8:22. Maybe the market opens. Where's all the price stuff here? Oh yeah, there it is. I take it off because I use why did I take it off? I don't know. It shouldn't be off. This is the studio computer. Anyway, nothing changes here. So yeah, we're just kind of fulfilling the ultimate that, yeah, e-money, that which was, you know, I've noticed a lot of names coming up here with different endings. So for instance, Terry Crow 2066 was never Terry Crow 2066. It was always Terry Crow. Shadow Chaser -3 was never Shadow Chaser -3. It was only Shadow Chaser. E-Money TX was always E-Money. I don't know if you guys have noticed this, but you know, something's going on with old YouTube. And yeah, everyone's at as well. So the funny thing is about YouTube is that when I go into YouTube Studio, it always asks me to fill out these questionnaires, right? And I always do it because I think everyone that's on YouTube says the same thing. And so for me, it's a setting on your channel. It's showing handles instead. Weird, because, you know, I haven't changed anything. The only thing I do on this channel is I go into community guidelines and I copy and paste all those goddamn robot. Thanks, mate, for your Intel XAP26P is the next Elon Musk coin. You know, I get all, you see them. If I had as many subscribers as they did robots, we're talking hundreds of thousands here. So I always kind of just copy and paste these things in. So this is the weird signal that I'm getting from YouTube. They never ask about bots. They never ask about my experience with robots, right? So I kind of feel like they're in on the game because they can. So back in the censorship days, which we're still kind of in, like I expect this thumbnail of Nick Fuentes to kind of be flagged, you know, because he's like enemy numero uno on YouTube. Robots do not. Oh, maybe they do generate ad revenue, Jimmy Cocos. Maybe that is a thing. Maybe they keep them on because they're clicks. You know, so these marketing, like I know some marketing companies in Winnipeg, and I think they're all kind of just hoaxes because you can always massage a noob dummy business owner. It's like, look at all the impressions we got. Look at this ad. Look at all the impressions. And they're like, oh, it's like 6,000 impressions. That 6,000 people saw my ad about my bakery that only does cinnamon buns. That's great. When really, you know, impression is someone just swipe, like it goes through someone's doom scrolling. So maybe that's it pads their numbers for their advertising. Oh, look, pianomattyb, you got 6,000 impressions. 100 views, but 6,000 impressions. So maybe you're onto something there, Jimmy Cocos. Because if they really cared about their user base, they would get rid of robots that are just scamming the comment sections like ad nauseum. It's like it's heartbreaking to look at those things because, you know, like if you've noticed, I haven't responded to comments lately. It's because they're so buried by the time I look that I'm like, I'm out. I'm out. Right. So I don't even, like, how sad's that? I can't even respond to actual comments because there's so many goddamn robots. Let's see what we did on the old weekly chart here. Yeah, lasers pew pew. Facebook ads are expensive for no reason. I do some ads for the Jimmy once or twice a year. And I do find them okay because I can isolate demographics. And the only reason I find them validating is when they at people. So like when someone sees the ad and they at their friend, to me that's two genuine interested clicks. Impressions, I don't care. Those are just dummy numbers. But when people at people, to me it's like that's a successful ad campaign. Let's see here on the weekly chart before we wrap this up. Yeah, so we couldn't close above our bull flag. This is an epic bull flag, really. We closed under twice, but we came back. But we got a hell of rejection from this wick. Now, this is what normally we would see in this scenario. A rejection from resistance means we go back down to test support. Now let's see where support would be. 116.6 or so. So that's around that 117 CME gap. There's two, 118.3 and 117. So will we see a big old red candle? Now, if we were to see that, that'd be quite a hell of a turnaround. Well, if we go wick to support is no, it isn't. It's not even a 5% dip. So from long hair, don't care wick to complete rejection down to support is less than 5%. Now, we could probably see that all week, and just nothing, just a slow grind down to 117. Perhaps, it would make for a boring week, but we're kind of in this, this is a long, boring channel when you really look at it. Despite us making some, we're up at the, upper east end of the channel usually, which is exciting. We're in the law of large numbers, but when you look back in the past month and a half, we've really kind of just been ranging. Now, before we go, I wanted to show everyone what's going up here in Canada. In case you missed it, this is what's going on up here in Canada.
Let me get this straight. People in Nova Scotia, Canada are now banned from going in the woods and threatened with a big fine if they do so?
We're telling Nova Scotians, stay out of the woods. We are restricting travel and activities that really aren't necessary. The fine for violating any of these bans, $25,000. But we have to stay out of the woods. It's a small price to pay right now.
Now, where have I heard it's a small price to pay before? Well, a few years ago when they locked us down over something invisible, they said lockdowns, small price to pay. Masking up, the cost of mask, and having a test inserted up your nose, small price to pay. And my personal favorite, potential side effects from the a small price to pay. It's almost as if the world is a stage. So is Nova Scotia the testing grounds for lockdowns for the climate, while also encouraging people to tattle on their neighbors? So no one is arrested for the Epstein files, and no one's arrested for the P. Diddy parties. But remember when they arrested people for having family gatherings during the lockdowns, or for not wearing masks in public? And now Big Brother is threatening you if you step out of line or into the woods. Now ask yourself, is this really for your safety, or is it for something entirely else? Just something to think about.
It's always for your safety and convenience. How many times do they got to pound it through your head? It's for your safety and your convenience. Now, here's the double-edged sword to this. There has been some arson fires that have been started in Manitoba, where I live. They're done by natives on the reserve. And what are natives on the reserve? Well, in Canada, we have a segregated third world country within our provinces called reserves, where the Aboriginal or native people kind of govern themselves. And by govern themselves, it's not uncommon for them to not have clean water or even plumbing and a sewer system. It's basically a third world country in the middle of Canada. And anyway, some of them have started fires to be evacuated to Winnipeg. And once they're evacuated to Winnipeg, they, live in a hotel, just like the immigrants in New York, live in a hotel, get free food and everything. So it has happened, so there's the argument for that, but this is in Manitoba. Over in Nova Scotia, New Brunswick, I don't know. It just kind of sounds like the ever so slowly creeping totalitarian, you can't do this. And believe me, if you look at the comment sections, most people are like hook, line, sinker government cucks, right? They're just like, this is like, stay out of it. And people like, there's a guy named Jeff something or whatever, who willfully got the $28,000 fine, and plus $3,000 for victim fees. Who's the victim fees, right? A $3,000 victim fee, which is crazy to me. So we'll see how that happens. To me, Canada is so if you take all the mob bosses, and by mob bosses I mean like presidents or premiers of countries, there's just this massive criminal syndicate, and then each one has a boss. And I think they just use Canada as this dumping ground and this testing ground because the people are so docile and apologetic about everything, and they just want peace, right? It's like, oh, what? Don't go in the forest for how long? What? 2 weeks? Okay, right? That's basically what happens here. But it's like a petri dish of obedience. And will they abide, and will they fall in line? What's the percentage? And then they carry it out on a larger scale to larger countries that, make a bigger difference than whatever the hell's going on in Canada. Make sure you like and subscribe and share this